gold continues to track the euro and trade inversely to the US dollar. So Tim, gold, a lot of investors think it's not behaving as a safe haven because it's not rallying along with the dollar. What do you think?
Gold is often sold as the dollar diversifier. So if you're holding gold in euros, sterling, other currencies, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing.
Meaning that it's a safe haven elsewhere, just not in the US?
Basically, yes, at the moment it is. The US economy seems to be doing slightly better than expected, and therefore we're seeing the dollar strengthen. Obviously, the debt crisis in Europe isn't helping the euro.
But does it matter here? I mean, if investors in the US are not seeing, near record highs in the US dollar as Europe almost implodes, does that signify a composure change? Is that psychologically going to damage the reason why investors here would buy gold?
ETF securities, we're seeing net inflows into gold. I think some of the other ETPs are seeing inflows as well.
So if the US economy is actually better than we're sort of acknowledging right now, does that mean that gold will have less need of a safe haven once Europe stabilizes and so really won't get that next push higher?
It's an interesting point. I think when we look around the world, China and India are still doing very well. Obviously, we've seen Chinese inflation come down slightly. Looking across all of the BRIC nations, inflation's still 7-8%. Where do we go from here? I think the US still has a huge amount of debt. Europe obviously is in the middle of a huge debt crisis, and therefore there's always a need for gold.
So just the spotlight has to be repointed into the debt issues here? Is that what's going to push gold higher?
Yes, but I think at the end of the day, when we look at the amount of debt that has to be repaid, gold is definitely an incredibly important investment at the moment. I think at the moment the US economy appears to be improving, and this is obviously excellent news for equity investors and things like that. But holding gold in a portfolio is still a very important hedge.
So what does that mean then to wrap it up with silver? Is silver going to also then trade in this sort of tight range here, or are you seeing inflows into silver as well as that currency diversifier to the dollar?
In the SIVR tracker, we have seen some inflows very recently. And silver generally gets pulled along in gold's wake, so we would expect to see continued interest in silver as well.
All right, thanks Tim, I really appreciate it. So gold is still a safe haven, you just can't lose the faith.